Hey everyone, this is Felisa, and this will be another entry into Spotlight Sunday where I present stories of the missing, the lost, and endangered, particularly with a focus on African American women in an effort to give more coverage to those cases as there is often a disparity with coverage and awareness of these particular cases. I will be blending reports from the Charlie Project and from another source, which is called the Stories of the Unsolved.com. As it pertains to the Charlie Project, I really do encourage you to visit the site and please support Megan in her yeoman's effort to present cases of the missing, lost, and endangered from across the nation. I believe that she has stories from as early as the early 1900s and tries to constantly stay on top of updates and new developments. If you can contribute financially to her, that would be amazing because she could definitely use the support. And without further ado, this topic or this vlog is on the disappearance of Tyarra Cacique Williams, and it is my intention to present it in such a way that we hopefully will gain awareness, and my prayer is that she be reunited with her family. Tyarra Cacique Williams has been missing since January the 7th, 2016. She is missing from Greensboro, North Carolina. Her classification is endangered missing. Her date of birth is June 18th, 1996. Her current age would be 23. At the time that she went missing, she was 19 years old. Her height and weight, as reported, is 5'5", 120 pounds, and the clothing and jewelry description for her last known sighting is a pink shirt, a black North Face jacket, dark blue Levi jeans, white Jordan sneakers with blue and green trim, and a royal blue cap. Distinguishing characteristics is that she is an African American female. She has brown hair, brown eyes, her ears are pierced, and her left nostril is pierced. She wears a stud in the piercing. She has a nickel-sized burn on her right wrist. Tyarra was the eldest of two children, and she grew up in Greensboro, North Carolina. Her parents divorced when she was young, and she and her brother, who she was very protective of, went to live with their mother, Danielle. In high school, Tyarra was said to be witty and kind. She had a thriving social life, both in real life and online, and as such for her mother, closely monitored her Facebook activity. During her junior year, she joined an early childhood development program as she wanted to work with children when she was older. She especially wanted to work with young children and those with disabilities, and she felt that she could give them the love that they deserved. And so her senior year, Tyarra felt the need to be more independent and moved in with her grandmother, who lived in the Stony Brook apartment complex on Webster Road near Randleman Road. While she claimed her grandmother shouldn't be living alone, everyone knew she really preferred her grandmother's cooking over Danielle's. In 2014, she graduated from Dudley High School and took a year off from school. In December 2015, she decided she wanted to go to college and enrolled at Gulliford Technical Community College for Early Educational Development, and she was 19 at the time. January 7th, 2016 was an early one for Tyarra. At 8 a.m. that morning, she went to the community college to finish her enrollment papers and to have her student ID made. At 6 p.m., she stopped by her mother's place where she filled her in on her day and took down the Christmas tree. The two were joined by Tyarra's boyfriend, Aaron, and her little brother. According to her mother, Tyarra was in high spirits and she offered to take her daughter shopping the next day for textbooks and school supplies. At 8 p.m., Tyarra, her brother, and her boyfriend left Danielle's and went to her grandmother's apartment. They ate dinner and spent the evening watching television until 8:30 p.m. when Tyarra announced that she'd be going to meet a friend, Travis. While Aaron didn't recognize the name, he didn't question their meeting, and he, Tyarra, and her brother left the apartment. Aaron and her brother went to go play video games back at his place while Tyarra went to go meet up with Travis, and she said she'd be back in an hour. 9:30 came around and Tyarra hadn't returned, nor had she texted Aaron. He returned to her grandmother's apartment to wait for her and texted her over the next few hours. However, she never responded. At 7 a.m. on January 8th, 2016, Aaron still hadn't seen or heard from Tyarra and left the apartment to attend a pre-scheduled appointment. Upon his return, she still wasn't back, so he woke up her grandmother, who also hadn't seen her. Alarmed, Tyarra's grandmother called her cell phone, but no one answered. This struck her as strange, as Tyarra never turned her phone off unless she was at work. She called Danielle, who also hadn't heard from her daughter. Danielle began to worry and went to Tyarra's room, where she saw her purse was still there. It was then she realized something wasn't right and made arrangements to meet Aaron. At 12:30 p.m., Aaron informed Danielle about Tyarra's meeting with Travis. She didn't recognize the name, so she logged on to her daughter's Facebook account, and while she couldn't find any friends by that name, she did notice Tyarra had been messaging an ex-boyfriend, and she began to wonder if Travis could have been an alias. When 8 p.m. came around, Tyarra still hadn't been seen or heard, and her mother contacted the Greensboro Police Department to report her daughter as missing. When Danielle reported her daughter missing, she informed the police that Tyarra had no prior history of running away or leaving without telling anyone where she was going. There were also no problems at home at the time. On January 9, 2016, the family canvassed the Stony Brook apartment complex. However, no one reported having seen Tyarra. The case was assigned to Crimes Against Persons Squads on January 11, 2016. Detectives spoke to Danielle, who informed them of her theory about Travis. His real name wasn't released to the public, given the ongoing investigation. Investigators were suspicious as to why Tyarra was talking to him while in a new relationship, so they brought him in for questioning. While he initially stated that he had no contact with her, his story changed when presented with the evidence that had been collected. It appears he was the one to reach out to her. On the night Tyarra was last seen, he said he met up with her and they talked in his car for about 20 to 30 minutes before she exited the vehicle and began walking back to her grandmother's apartment. This was also corroborated by his text messages to her. From this story, police were able to surmise that he was the last one to see Tyarra. A search of his car brought up no evidence. Early on in the investigation, police were able to gain access to Tyarra's cell phone records. While they weren't able to access her texts, GPS pinged her phone near the Stony Brook apartment complex at around 8:30 the night she vanished. It is believed the phone stayed on until it ran out of battery power. While investigators started looking around the area of the complex, her family put up flyers. Multiple residents were spoken to, but no new evidence or sightings were uncovered. Given the lack of evidence, police began to dig more into Tyarra's life, where they discovered that she had another ex-boyfriend, Trey. While she was still in love with him, Trey and her wanted different things, and the pair split. He was cooperative when spoken to by investigators, and Danielle believes he had nothing to do with the case, as he was just as distraught as her family. About a week after the search began, authorities turned to the media, sending out press releases. Billboards were put up in local roadways, and posts were spread on social media. Crime Stoppers also released a flyer. To help bring in tips, Danielle created a Facebook page, Help Find Tyarra Cacique Williams, and the family set up a hotline manned by her uncle Daryl, a former bail bondsman. And I will link the Facebook page in the comments for you. 10 days after it's set up, a call came into the hotline from a sanitation worker in High Point, North Carolina, who claimed to have seen a disoriented girl who resembled Tyarra walking down the street in a dark jacket. Another witness reported having seen the same girl on Textile Drive in Greensboro. Police received 2 anonymous tips hinting that Tyarra was dead and her body dumped in a tractor-trailer lot located across the street from the Stony Brook apartment complex. However, a search came up empty. On February 8, 2016, authorities intensified their search efforts around the apartment complex, looking through wood lines, creeks, culverts, and sewer drains. Despite using tracking dogs, the icing conditions made their search difficult, and nothing of substance was found. An unanticipated development in the case came on February 20th, 2016, when Trey was found shot dead near his apartment in Greensboro. Initially, it was believed his death and Tyarra's disappearance could be linked, but it was found that he was killed during an altercation with his roommate. In 2016, police received a tip about a post on Instagram where a user claimed to have overheard a conversation between two people that might have been connected to the case. Upon closer examination, the post was deemed to be incorrect and the persons mentioned had nothing to do with the disappearance. In April 2016, Danielle received a promising tip from Waffle House server Jessup, Georgia. The server claimed to have seen Tyarra several times a week as part of a group of girls who visited the restaurant, but she never spoke or made eye contact. Daryl traveled to Jessup to investigate, but around that time, the girls stopped their visits to the Waffle House. The server suggested that they might be staying at a nearby motel, so Daryl visited the local ones until he came upon a manager who said a girl matching Tyarra's description was staying nearby with a suspected pimp. Local authorities were contacted, but the girl turned out not to be Tyarra. The National Center for Missing and Exploited Children added Tyarra's case to their website, and tips continued to come in from across the United States. Daryl followed up on as many of these leads as he could and offered a $10,000 reward for any information leading to the return of his niece. Spring allowed for a renewed search for evidence in May 2016, but nothing was uncovered. Anxious for leads, the family urged detectives to look into Aaron, who, when questioned, was found to have no involvement in the case. When pressed, he admitted to having become depressed after the appearance and said he regretted not asking more questions about Travis. The last purported sighting of Tyarra came on June 13, 2016, when a relative thought she saw a girl resembling Tyarra at the DMV in Greensboro. When the relative called out her name, the girl said that she wasn't Tyarra, but asked the relative to pray for her. Police pulled surveillance footage, but Danielle confirmed it wasn't her daughter. Theories in this case are plentiful, but the top three are that police don't believe that Tyarra is a runaway and that she didn't disappear voluntarily. While they haven't publicly stated if they have any persons of interest in the case, they continue to work on this premise. Some people believe Tyarra may have been abducted and forced into human trafficking. This comes from the sighting of those who say a girl resembling Tyarra was seen walking around disoriented. Given how she was acting, it's thought that she might be drugged and held hostage. I have read several reports suggesting that North Carolina in and of itself is a hotbed for human sex trafficking. And one of the reasons for that is that it is on a major thoroughfare for the expressways and freeways, and so it's possible to be in another state very quickly. This is the same for where I live. We literally have I-75, which stretches from Michigan all the way to Florida, and so it is very possible to get onto one of the freeways, particularly I-75, and literally be out of the state in a matter of a couple of hours. The third theory is that Tyarra's family believes her ex-boyfriend has something to do with the disappearance, given he was the last person to see her. Given the ongoing status of the investigation, investigators won't comment on whether he's involved. I find this theory a little difficult because from all published reports, her ex-boyfriend, Aaron, if that's who they're referring to, also was the last person to see her with her brother. And it has been reported that Aaron and the brother went back to his place and played video games for several hours, waiting for Tyarra to return. If they're referring to the other ex-boyfriend that was inboxing her and messaging her, I do think that they would need to look at the phone records a little bit more closely, and perhaps her messages on Facebook or other social media platforms to determine if there has been a meetup or if there was a meetup planned, and try and create a timeline from that. I'm not an investigator. I just think that that would be the logical place to start and to see if there is any connectivity between that person and Tyarra. They would also be able to pull that ex-boyfriend's phone records to see if there had been any interaction up to the time that she went missing. While text messages, the messages themselves don't necessarily show up, and you don't know what people are talking about or texting about, I would think that it would be very suspicious for a call that lasted a full minute or 2 minutes or however many minutes, as opposed to 10 seconds or so, which would kind of think that those messages rolled into voicemail or were declined. In the aftermath, as the investigation has drawn on, tips have begun to slow down. However, despite the lack of information, investigators say that they're still looking for new evidence and believe someone within the vicinity of the Stony Brook apartment complex knows something. To recap, Tyarra Cacique Williams went missing in Greensboro, North Carolina, from the Stony Brook apartment complex on Webster Road on January 7, 2016. She was 19 years old and was last seen wearing a pink shirt, a black North Face jacket, blue jeans, white Jordan sneakers with blue and green trim, and a blue knit cap. At the time of her disappearance, she was 5'5" and about 120 pounds. She has brown hair and brown eyes with a nose piercing and a nickel-sized burn on her wrist. Currently, her case is classified as endangered missing. If she is still alive, she would be 23 years old. If you have any information regarding the case, you may contact the Greensboro Police Department at 336-373-2222, or you can call Crime Stoppers at 336-373-1000. I invite your commentary below in the comments. The only request that I do have is that you remain respectful and civil, because there is a family that is missing a loved one, and I want to be sensitive to their thoughts, their feelings, and to their emotions. As a community, it's important for us to wrap arms around these missing and these lost. I pray that they are returned to their families in any way possible. If you have any information on the disappearance of Tyarra Cacique Williams, please, again, reach out to the Greensboro, North Carolina Police Department and let them know what you know. Be blessed.